tapping in.
Are we live?
Yo. Is this a happy or sad topic, man?
The topic that my brother Miles has introduced so smoothly is Genius. We're getting into Genius, Kanye West. I was begging you to watch this. I was like, Miles, you need to watch it. You need to watch it. You kept on saying no. Week after week after week, you kept on saying no. You would not budge. Now that you have watched it, why were you so hesitant in watching it?
Because I was already hurt. I didn't need a reminder of how dope Kanye was, because I remember. And I've spent the last few years trying to preserve that memory and detach it from the person that we kind of have seen him transform into. And it was really hard for me knowing how much early Kanye meant to me, and the mindset of just now getting to this place of being like, you know, having kind of let go of a hero like that, of being like tossed back into the world of when he meant so much. So it was difficult, but it was amazingly put together, and it definitely made me feel something. So I appreciate you for insisting that I watch it.
I'm glad you watched it, because me and you, if there's one thing that bonds our friendship that has now lasted over 13, 14 years. We've been friends over 14 years now. Is that number correct?
No, but
no.
Not even close. But good job. But it's been close to 10. It's been almost 10.
It's almost 10. Almost 10. Since I've met you, we've bonded over the fact that some of our favorite album is Kanye West's album. And so I've been listening to College Dropout, which Genius is all about since it dropped. I've been listening to College Dropout for 14 years. I remember when it came out. I remember being excited, going to buy the CD with my pops and listening to it so much that it scratches, going back a few days later, buying 2 CDs. So one could be in the car and one could be in the house. Still one of my favorite albums of all time. And so when we talk about the Kanye fan, Chicago is home for you, second home for me. Chicago, Kanye is a Chicago native. So it doesn't get bigger when it comes to stars for Kanye. So being able to see this documentary after all of what we've been given from Ye, for me, was one of the most refreshing pieces of content about him and that involves him. That allowed me to get back into that place where I could appreciate Ye for the Ye that I know.
That was beautifully said. And man, we were not only like, I mean, I was in this space. I'm coming up. I'm a young kid in Chicago. I'm also like, I'm young, right? You talked about having 2 copies of the CD because one scratched. I had 2 copies of the CD because I had a clean version for when I was riding in the car with my mom. You know what I'm saying? Like these were formative years, right? So like, this is somebody who made it okay to be creative. Somebody who made it okay to not conform to what people expected a young Black person to be, what people expected a young Black person who loves hip hop to be, right? And so to see something that already meant so much, being hip hop and being music, taken by somebody who felt like they were more interested in themselves and their own and who they wanted to be than what the world was telling them, was so refreshing and meant so much. It made me believe in myself so much. And so I think what the documentary does a good job of showing is how real that was for him and how deeply normal in a way compared to who he is now that he was, right? And does that mean that any of us, under the right circumstances, under the right pressure, under the right amount of fame and spotlight and influence, could go places we never thought we would go?
Definitely. And that was the whole story that he preached. And, you know, even in choosing this picture, the one with his mom, she was a massive supporter of his, and one that kept on fueling the fact that you can be anything you want to be. Kanye, you know, the most endearing scene, obviously, is when he's rapping to her and she's rapping along his lyrics and they're sitting there together, and she goes, Kanye, you know, I thought about the fact that you decided to buy all this jewelry instead of having a house. And I was mad at first, but I think it's dope. And that type of support, that type of support and positive reinforcement about his creative journey explains so much of why he is the person that he is and why he believes in himself that way. And he speaks about that, especially on the last episode where he's speaking on the foundation, the Kanye West Foundation with his that he started with his mother. Or is it the West Family Foundation? I don't even think they're still operational anymore.
Yeah, I'm not sure. I'm not sure, and that's me slipping on my Chicago Community Network card. So maybe I can get back to y'all on that one. Um, but yeah, man, I love even this picture. Like, I think part of me, even as a kid too, even when I was first getting to know Kanye, and like even when he started to become more vocal, like there was this feeling of like everybody. We never had a celebrity that might really say what they thought. You know what I mean? George Bush doesn't care about black people. Taylor Swift didn't deserve this. Beyonce had the best video ever. And there are these moments where you're like, oh, he's smashing all these social norms. He's not caring about people's feelings, but there's something really free about that. And I think we look back at some of those moments as like just watershed moments for our culture, right? Where like when you talk about somebody who's the voice of a generation, um, there are moments where they put what we're all feeling into words in ways we didn't know we needed to hear them yet. And he did that for me personally so many times. But then also here's this thing about a voice of a generation. What if that generation switches from underneath you, right? What if that generation evolves past you? Like, thank you for breaking us into this space of being creative and believing in ourselves. But now we want to respect each other fully and we want to put empathy first. And we're not worried about, you know, the same things you're worried about maybe now. And yeah, can you be the voice of when is it time for the voice of a generation to pass the torch? Or to
Well, a voice. No, when is it time for a voice of a generation to shut up? Is that the question?
I think so.
I mean, one thing you have to give credit to Kanye about that you see is that he does put on a lot of people. He does put a lot of people on, and you see wherever he is in a creative space, there's a lot of people that are orbiting around him. And as from the don't like features, from the GLC features, from time, Kanye has definitely reached to give what he believes to be the voice of a generation a voice on his platform. So, in terms of what is a voice of a generation supposed to do, it's the question of like what's a leader supposed to do when he's bred a bunch of leaders. Like sometimes they take off and do greater things than you. Sometimes you still have to pull them in and lead them through. And what I guess you're referring to in specific is when Kanye was coming out on that Trump narrative and was completely misaligned with what we were going through in terms of in terms of the Black Lives Matter movement at the same time, and a lot of the police killings that were happening, where in tandem as a community we're all facing and fighting the same issue. And here was the voice of our generation blatantly on the other team, and hurting us in a way, almost in a way that we haven't even been able to recover and enjoy Kanye in the same way since.
I thank you for yeah, just like kind of summarizing that. But I think that highlights like some of the worst moments of like a broader shift that I'm talking about, right? Like even before he actually put on the MAGA hat, like even before he said slavery was a choice, right? I think there was this point at which Kanye, Kanye was the perfect person to build Kanye's world, right? Kanye was the only person that believed in Kanye enough to create for himself create the version of himself that he saw himself as, like the best musician, the best producer, the best rapper, right? When nobody else believed in him. But then you get to this point where you're the best person to create Kanye West. And I think in some ways the world needed to watch him become this success. But then there's this shift where now the world is not, you're not the best person to create the world for everyone. So you've created yourself and you've created this persona, and now you get this power and influence where actually you can kind of influence the world around you. And the best person to build themselves up isn't always the best person to make decisions about what's best for the rest of us.
That's the best person that can build stuff is not always the best person that can make the decisions for the rest of us, is what my brother just said. That's very that's dope, right? That's hard. And it's true. It's the different roles that we play when it comes to leadership, and the different roles that you play when it comes to how you connect with people. In order to be the greatest builder, you need a high level of narcissism to carry you through that. But when it comes to being a collective party decision maker, your empathy levels need to be higher than your selfish endeavor levels. So that way you can truly get to the heart of what people want you to at least motivate for building. And then those two things standing next to each other under the right circumstances can lead to incredible impact, right? And we've seen that happen in the way that Richard Branson, for instance, Sir Richard Branson, who owned Virgin Atlantic and Virgin Airlines, multi-billionaire over Virgin Music. Um, in when the Syrian crisis kicked off, when the Iraq crisis kicked off, and Afghanistan, there were a whole bunch of uh, refugees leaving from there, heading over to Jordan and places like that. And he saw that they needed blankets and whatnot. Was working with the queen, with the queen of Amman at the time. They came together and they were able to like help a whole bunch of refugees at that point in time. You have one person on the side who has a certain empathy to the people. You have another person on the side who has the resources, and you bring those two together and people get help. It's the same thing. But he might not have been the best person to make the decision on what needs to be helped by, what needs attention and helping.
Word. And then you gotta you I think I think what Kanye's story proves is that love and confidence can bring you to the top, but you need love and humility to persevere after that, right? In the space beyond the point of reaching what success is, even on your terms, you need a code, and you need a support system, and you need something that you listen to more than yourself to survive in the space beyond that point. I think, and that's what I would like, because this makes me think, right? No matter what I think success is, what am I going to do and what's going to sustain me after I get there, right? And I think the documentary shows that he lost his mother at a crucial point in that process. I think the
She was
documentary,
so young.
yeah. I think the documentary shows that when everybody told you you can't, and you're the only, and you continually prove that you can, how do you then know when you're wrong, right?
How do you know when you're wrong? Keeping it in the traditional sense of how we do these recommended and reviews, man, we talk about the positive highlights and we talk about a bit of the low lights. Um, for me personally, I have to say that I did enjoy getting to see a whole lot of young Kanye in a way that we hadn't seen him when he was super young. Watching the process and the making of some of my favorite songs off of College Dropout was super dope. Um, Getting to see Kanye in a different light was great in his relationship with his mom. I do feel shorted on getting to be a bit in depth with the Jay-Z Kanye period. That would have been dope to see how Watch the Throne came to be made, and that period, more Jay would have been dope. but this,
Yes,
but that
I would also take some more Jay-Z. Yes, please.
more Jay, but that would be my wrap up of it. Overall, man, I really enjoyed it, and it's one of those hip hop documentaries that I'll keep going back to.
Yeah, I'm glad you smacked me back into recommended review mode. This was for sure just like Kanye.
A rant,
Like,
yeah.
yeah. So my apologies, yo. But it was a dope documentary. I love the way that it was put together. I love the vulnerability that like was even shown by the director, right? Like it was very personal. I knew you was gonna be mad though that all that time was focused on College Dropout, and then they like jumped over My Beautiful Dark Twisted Fantasy. They did a little late registration. There's so much with Kanye, and there's so he was so great for so long. Um, so
Still is.
yeah. And I like the end of the documentary, kind of focusing on the ways in which he's reached back for positivity now. I think it's a great. It was more entertaining than I even expected it to be. I thought it would get a little cringeworthy at the end, but it was well put together. I recommend it as a watch, even if you're not the hugest Kanye fan, and even if you aren't looking for something like train wreck, train crashy. It actually pulls at the heartstrings a lot more than it is like for shock value. So I don't know if we rate the movies, films, documentaries with a number. Do we do that?
I got a four. I give it a 4 out of 5. Solid 4 out of 5.
4 out of 5 reels. Full reel.
Boom. For real. For real.